Somewhere between an engineering decision and a complete loss of restraint, these machines were born. Heavy-duty cargo trucks stripped down, rebuilt, and transformed into pickups so enormous, so outrageously over-engineered that most people who see them in person refuse to believe they are street legal. 10 conversions that redefined what a pickup truck is allowed to be. The last one cost $400,000 and was built for a Russian client who apparently found regular luxury vehicles insufficiently intimidating. Truck 1 Ford F-12000. The Ford F-12000 spent its working life as a heavy-duty cargo truck built in Brazil throughout the 80s and 90s, hauling serious loads across cities and countryside without anyone giving it a second glance. Then, a Brazilian custom builder looked at that platform and saw something completely different. The original 6.6-litre inline-six diesel engine stayed under the hood, producing between 150 and 170 horsepower with over 370 pound-feet of torque, pushing through a 5-speed manual transmission and reinforced rear axle. Enough mechanical substance to move several tons without complaint, and now redirected entirely toward commanding attention instead. The body was re-sculpted from the ground up to mirror the muscular proportions of American full-size pickups, only scaled up considerably beyond anything Detroit ever produced. Fenders widened, bed stretched and reinforced. The front end kept that signature Ford F-Series bulk that makes the lineage instantly recognizable even at this exaggerated scale. The suspension was rebuilt to handle the larger tires and elevated center of gravity, and those tires were chosen specifically for intimidation rather than practicality. Tall, wide, and aggressive in a way that announces the truck's presence before the diesel growl does. Inside, leather seats, a restored dashboard, and a quality sound system create a contrast between the refined interior and the genuinely menacing exterior that Brazilian collectors at truck shows consistently identify as the build's defining characteristic. Fully street legal, properly registered and certified. A bold statement of what Brazilian custom fabricators produce when they decide to take something seriously. Truck 2 Scania 111S. In Brazil, the Scania 111S earned the nickname Jacaré, meaning alligator, for its long sloping hood and aggressive ground-level stance. Launched in 1976, it became one of the most respected freight haulers in South American trucking history. Built around a massive 11-litre inline-six diesel producing 296 horsepower and over 810 pound-feet of torque through a long-throw manual. Transmission that real truckers operated with practiced efficiency across entire continents. Someone looked at that legacy and decided it deserved a second life as something nobody had ever attempted with it before. The transmission stayed manual, preserving the old-school character that defines the original truck's personality. The suspension was completely replaced with a full air ride setup, chosen not just for comfort, but for the ability to slam the truck down to a near-ground stance when parked, a visual effect that creates an immediate impact at any show appearance. What makes this conversion genuinely remarkable is how much of the original Scania identity survived the transformation. The tall cab, the long hood, the round headlights that made the 111S immediately recognizable across decades of Brazilian highways. All of it remained intact and paired with a custom fabricated metal pickup bed that looks like it came from a futuristic industrial design studio. Vintage character fused with modern aggression in proportions that feel entirely deliberate rather than accidental. This truck was not built to haul anything. It was built to own every room it enters. Truck 3 Ford F-700. The Ford F-700 was built as a mid-size American workhorse, the kind of truck that handled tow services and city hauling without drawing any particular attention to itself. Its V8 gasoline or 6.6-litre inline-six diesel produced between 170 and 200 horsepower with 440 pound-feet of torque. Respectable pulling power for its original purpose and more than adequate for moving a custom pickup of considerably. exaggerated proportions down the street with genuine swagger. The long throw manual gearbox and reinforced rear axle remained, with a revised suspension handling the new weight distribution and stance requirements. The front end kept the classic Ford F-Series aesthetic intact. Wide grille, squared headlights, long hood projecting an authority that the original mid-sized truck never quite possessed at this scale. The custom bed is where the builder's ambition became most visible. Oversized, wide, finished in heavy-duty sheet metal, flanked by flared fenders and sitting high on tires, chosen specifically to match the boldness of everything surrounding them. The result is a wall of steel that rolls down city streets looking like a studio prop from an action franchise while actually being fully registered and street legal. Most people watching it pass have no idea they are looking at a converted mid-size commercial truck. The reveal, when someone explains what it actually is, consistently produces the same reaction. Disbelief followed immediately by genuine respect for what was accomplished. Truck 4 Peterbilt 379. The 1992 Peterbilt 379 is one of the most iconic long-haul trucks ever built, and a father and son team took one, removed everything that made it a semi-truck, and rebuilt it into something the trucking world had never seen. The Caterpillar 3406 engine stayed exactly where it was. 14.6 litres of inline-six diesel, 425 horsepower, over 1,475 pound-feet of torque. An engine designed to pull loaded trailers across continents, now redirected entirely toward moving a one-of-a-kind custom pickup. The 13-speed manual transmission also stayed, meaning driving this machine requires the same experience and physical commitment as operating the original highway truck. The chassis of the Peterbilt was kept as the foundation. Onto it they grafted the complete body of a Dodge Ram 3500, stretching the frame until the proportions aligned perfectly. The result looks like a Ram that spent time in a growth chamber. The Ram hood flows into the Peterbilt cab without a visible seam. Chrome vertical exhaust stacks rise behind the cab. Widened rear fenders accommodate the scale of the rear end, and a custom metal bed completes the build with the same precision and intention visible in every other panel. Rear-wheel drive, reinforced axles, and a reworked suspension manage the size and weight with enough competence that this machine appears at truck meets and custom shows across the United States, where it stops seasoned truckers in their tracks. Men who have spent careers around Peterbilts stop and stare. That reaction, from people who genuinely know what they are looking at, is the most meaningful measure of what this build achieved. Truck 5 Ford F650 Supertruck. The Ford F650 Supertruck 6-door Extreme starts with Ford's commercial F650 medium-duty chassis and transforms it into something that occupies its own category entirely. The 6.7-litre Powerstroke turbo diesel produces 330 horsepower and 725 pound-feet of torque through a heavy-duty 6-speed automatic transmission with an air ride suspension system managing the bulk across all axles. That suspension does something no standard truck can replicate. It lowers the entire vehicle on command, dropping this enormous machine toward the pavement for a visual effect that crowds at shows consistently photograph from every angle simultaneously. 6 full-size doors open into a leather-heated interior with triple stainless fuel tanks, polished 22.5-inch wheels, an upgraded stereo and camera system, and a heavy-duty lined bed finished to the same standard as every other surface on the truck. The 6-door layout adds both crew capacity and physical presence that makes everything around it look significantly smaller than it actually is. At $300,000, it sits in a price category that puts it alongside exotic sports cars and entry-level private aircraft. Truck 6 Ford F650 Black Edition. US Classic 24 imported a Ford F650 Supertruck from America to Poland and put it through a complete transformation process to meet European road regulations. The 6.7-litre turbo diesel with 330 horsepower and over 750 pound-feet of torque remained untouched mechanically. The 6-speed automatic drivetrain stayed exactly as built. What changed was everything surrounding it. Emission systems updated to European standards. Lighting replaced to meet local requirements. Suspension recalibrated for European road conditions. Full legal certification obtained for every market it would operate in. Then, the final touch, a complete respray from white to gloss black, earning the name that followed it everywhere it went afterward. On European streets where the average vehicle fits comfortably between 2 lanes with room remaining, a lifted gloss black F650 with blacked out chrome accents, dual exhaust stacks, and raised ride height does not simply attract attention. It stops traffic. Reports emerged of drivers pulling over specifically to take photographs of it passing. In a continent where automotive culture skews toward precision engineering at small scale, the sheer American excess of this machine landing on Polish streets created a reaction that no amount of conventional marketing could replicate. Truck 7 International 7500. The International 7500 in its standard form is a platform reserved for emergency response units, military transports, and extreme industrial operations. It arrives from the factory with diesel engines up to 12 litres, producing between 330 and 370 horsepower with over 1,200 pound-feet of torque. 4-wheel drive. 5 or 6-speed automatic transmission, built to handle terrain and loads that would destroy conventional vehicles without particular effort. Someone commissioned a complete custom rebuild of this platform into a pickup truck at a cost of 40 million rubles, exceeding 400,000 United States dollars depending on exchange rates at time of construction. The cab was stretched to accommodate 6 full-size doors leading into an interior that bears no resemblance to anything with a commercial origin. High-end leather upholstery throughout. Premium trim covering every surface. High technology controls. Space to stretch out across the full width of a cabin that rivals private jet interiors in both materials, quality, and available room. The custom bed was fabricated specifically to match the massive frame proportions. The suspension lifted and reinforced. The tyres chosen at a scale that matches the presence of everything above them. This build was commissioned for a client in Russia and quickly became something beyond a vehicle. A physical declaration of wealth, power, and a complete disregard for modesty in any form. The line between work truck and luxury vehicle did not blur on this machine. It disappeared entirely. How far can you push a heavy-duty truck before it stops being recognizable as one? From a Brazilian F2000 turning heads at South American shows to a $400,000 Russian commission with a private jet interior, every machine on this list was built by someone who looked at a commercial freight platform and saw something that nobody else had imagined yet. Drop a comment telling us which one you would put in your garage if money was not a consideration. Subscribe, because the builds coming next make everything on this list look restrained.